Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I've got a video for you today about a topic that I was talking about on the Entreprogrammers podcast, which you can check out here if you haven't seen that already. It's this weekly podcast that I put together with three other developers slash entrepreneurs, developreneurs, that we basically go over exactly what we're doing every week with our business. You see like the failures, successes, numbers, the real numbers of how much money we're making, how we're making the money, everything you'd want to know about creating an online business and doing content marketing and emails and mailing lists and all of that stuff, because we're pretty much just discussing it. It's like our private mastermind, but we opened up to the public. But anyway, during that, a topic came up, and I've talked about this topic before, but I had this thought about it that I thought I would make a great video. So I've talked about this topic of burning the boats, right? And I think this is important, but in the course of the conversation, one of the entreprogrammers, Charles Max Wood, he was talking about writing a book and doing some webinars for writing his book, and it dawned on me this concept, this thing that I was worried that he was going to do, that I think is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they embark on a project, which is basically I came up with the phrase of don't burn the boats part of the way. So if you're gonna burn the boats, then burn the fucking boats. Burn them down to the ground. Make sure that nobody is gonna be sailing in those boats. Those boats are decimated and destroyed. The worst possible mistake that you can make is to basically partway burn the boats, to sabotage the boats, and then get in the boat and try to sail away. And I think this is interesting because, I mean, that analogy just hit on something that I've been thinking about for a while, which is, and I did another video on this about basically not committing, about being halfway in between the boat and land, and this is really kind of the same point, but I thought that analogy fit really well, which is just like, if you're going to burn the boats, burn them to the ground, and if you're not going to burn the boats, then leave them pristine so you can get away, so you can escape. But the worst possible thing you could do is to take half measures, right? Never take a half measure, always take a full measure, because when you take a half measure like that, when you partially burn the boats, you're sabotaging yourself, because not only do you not have that benefit of having burned the boats, and you have to survive, you have to push forward. That's the whole point of burning the boats, but you can't retreat either. So because your retreat is going to be hindered by these halfway crippled vessels, instead of having, you're got to make this choice. And I think that's one of the critical things, is like, when you commit to something, commit to it. Don't partway commit. Just say, like, okay, in Chuck's example, it was basically this. It's like, are you going to write this book? And are you going to do it in the time that you're saying that you're going to do it? And are you going to do these webinars? You're going to do these things. If you're going to do it, then burn the boats. Then commit to it. Let's get this on. Let's go for it. Let's put out this. Like, put a date on it. Put a date on when you're going to do this stuff. Commit to all of this stuff. But if you're not going to do it, then let's not even talk about this. What are we even talking about? Let's put that in your someday list, and we'll put it in a someday, and maybe someday you'll get to it. But the worst mistake would be to plan it out, to start embarking on that journey, to basically do all this work and all this effort and not bring it to fruition, not to bring it to completion. And this is a problem. I did a blog post on becoming a finisher. And this is really what this is about, is this idea of becoming a finisher. Because when you start projects and you don't finish them, what you end up doing is, there's two critical things, reasons why this is bad. One is you expend a lot of energy and effort that amounts to nothing, right? When you get 99% done and then you don't complete the thing, you get zero benefit. And that sucks, right? So it's wasted effort. And two, you're setting yourself up for chains of failure, because you're forming a habit of stopping short. And stopping short is the biggest sin. It's the biggest crime against yourself, because it prevents you, it robs you of the energy and the effort and the time, but it gives you nothing in return. So, again, it doesn't mean that you have to just balls to the wall commit to every single thing that you do, but it means that you make that choice up ahead of time. You say, if I'm going to do something, then I'm committing to it. Otherwise, I'm not. Otherwise, I'm not burning the boats at all, right? It's just when you've lit the boats on fire and you're sailing in these burning ships and they're going to sink into the ocean while you're sailing away. That's the stupidest thing. That's the worst thing that you could possibly do to yourself. It's self-sabotage. And so many people do it, and I'm guilty of this. I still do this from time to time. I've gotten a lot better at not doing this. When I commit to something, I pretty much do what I say I'm going to do. I mean, I slip up, but I used to do this all the time. This used to be my biggest problem. I used to get all these projects where I'd start, and I'd never finish them, and I wouldn't. And not only not finishing, right? Because the other element of this is that mental, that psyche of burning the boats or not, right? Like it's not just whether you're going to finish it or not, or push through. It's whether you're going to give yourself outs or not. And if you give yourself out, if you give yourself an escape route, you need a clear plan B. Like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to bail and I'm going to go this direction. But if you're not giving yourself out, you got to take away all of it. You got to burn those boats to the friggin' ground so that there's no way that you're going to get back in those boats. Because when you have it halfway in between, that's the worst. That's when you're cruising and you're gonna run into trouble. That's when you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're not getting the psychological benefit, right? And when you do cop out, which you're going to be more likely to do, you're going to be in a crippled vessel. So don't do that. Don't do it. And I think this is an apt analogy, like I said, for this situation that I've seen so many times. I've been trying to describe. So from now on, I'm going to call it halfway burning the boats. So anyway, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you think this would benefit someone who tends to self-sabotage themselves and halfway burn their boats, send them a link to it. So, all right, I'll talk to you next time. Take care.